Video to speak about why some Pali texts may not be historically accurate. Obviously, to speak about the inaccuracy of the most ancient Buddhist texts. To speak about this subject to Buddhists is quite a controversial thing. So I'd like to put this subject in a bigger context, within the context of religious texts, so-called sacred texts. If you talk about religious sacred texts, and if you analyze all, I mean, and I do mean all, the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Quran, the Torah, the Talmud, well, certainly them all, and ancient, and even the most ancient Canaanite ones, and the ancient Syrian ones, and the ancient pre-biblical ones that talk about the Garden of Eden, which that's in the flood, and all these ancient myths, which are then copied in the Hebrew Torah. If you inspect these myths in the light of the best evidence which we have, which currently, as far as I'm aware, it's actually looking at the text and seeing if the sentence structure and the grammar and the names used in the early texts is the same as the grammatical structure in the later texts, and even though the earlier and the later sections of the texts may claim to be written by the same author, actually does it look like they are? Does the grammar structure and the spelling and the punctuation, is it similar, or does it look to be of a later date? And in many cases, if you analyse these historical texts, they seem to be on close inspection, they seem to be different than what they're alleging. And then another best tool that we have at our disposal is archaeological evidence. And if you use archaeological evidence to compare the accuracy of historical texts, the texts often don't hold water. For example, Egyptian archaeology and Israeli archaeology, despite their best efforts to dig out evidence to support the texts, what the ancient texts say, they can't find any evidence. Like in Israel, they've got more evidence about the Canaanites who were in Israel before the Hebrews. There's more archaeological evidence to support what the Canaanites' existence rather than the Jews in Israel. And this is to the dismay of the governments, because archaeological evidence brings in big money. But despite this, there is little evidence. So I would like to hold up the Buddhist religious, the Pali religious texts in a similar light. So I'm going to go to the computer. So I just want to so I'm going to cover up now, but here's my hand coming. So I just want to show you what a little bit of the research into Pali text, what it says. So I'm just going to show you Google. Look, if you type in, for example, don't know if you can see, the Chula Vaga is wrong. You could also type in Garudamras are wrong, or is the Chula Vaga accurate, or is the other Dhamma I've forgotten the name. But look at this. Look, the episode of Ananda's offence and its relation to the first and second councils. The next one is the riddle of the first Buddhist council, a retrospective view. There's all these, look, the Theravada attitude to discipline. So if you use Google, you can access lots of the most cutting research that's been done. So I'm going to open this first one. Look, this is the first one. Opening now. So this is the International Buddhist College, and look, the episode of Ananda's offence and its relations to first and second Buddhist councils and investigation. And I'll just show you how long this document is. I'll slowly scroll down if I can. Yep, here goes. There you go, look. Modern Scholars View. Look, H. Oldenburg. H. Oldenburg is a specialist on ancient India. he doesn't believe in the account of in the Theravada about the first Buddhist council. So there's all the textural description of Ananda's offence. So he studied not only Oldenburg, but other people have actually studied the sentence structure, the spelling, like Ananda's reply to the offences. So this is in-depth analysis, and they all say that many things within the Theravada, many things with which are accepted by orthodox Theravada are just not true. They don't bear up to scrutiny. But I'll open this one, the riddle of the first Buddhist councils. It says these assumptions are shown to be wrong. The assumptions of the accuracy of the first Buddhist council. Wow. The problem of the first Buddhist council was first raised and discussed in detail by Minyanev in 1887. So there's discrepancies that go back a long way. So I'll just go back if you want to access these yourself. So type in for yourself the episode of Ananda's offence, just type in Theravada is wrong. So I'm going to go back to my corner. I'll just cover up. So I am suggesting now that Theravada so-called sacred scriptures are similar to other sacred scriptures in that they were often written for their own private reasons. It was a great shame for a religious tradition in India to have to write down sacred verses. It was a kind of shame for them. They believed in oral tradition and the power of memory, and it was a great shame on the Indian ascetics of that time, or the Sri Lankan ascetics, when the Theravadas wrote down, they broke the holy tradition of oral tradition. It was a matter of great pride to have a strong oral tradition. It gave you a lot of esteem. I want to make a proposal and say, if you look at the reasons why the Sinhalese monks wrote down the Tripitaka, I suggest it was highly political. Like they with one foul swoop, they had claimed supremacy for the Theravada school of Buddhism over the rise of the new schools of Buddhism like Mahayana. With one foul swoop, they had eternally established supremacy for the monks over the nuns with the Garudamas, the 8 Garudamas. They had eternally achieved supremacy of Theravada over the new schools of Buddhism like Mahayana, and also the alleged other 18 schools of early Buddhism. So I suggest that if you look at what was achieved by the writing of the Tripitaka, but more especially the controversial sections of the Tripitaka that just don't seem historically accurate, I suggest that Buddhist fundamentalists, in common with other religious fundamentalists, are sticking blindly to what the holy book says, and they're being duped, they're being misled, they're believing lies. Because I hate to say it, but if you look at the archaeology, the historical evidence for most holy books, the myths and legends just don't hold true. And it looks like the Buddhist holy books about which the Theravadas use, I'm sorry to say, but with the greatest of respect, as myself speaking personally as a Theravada practitioner, I'm currently studying mindfulness and cognitive based therapy, which is an offshoot of Theravada doctrine. So I'm studying that at college, and I'm an ex-monk. So I'm a kind of Theravada, but I have to say there's a lot of fundamentalism and a lot of closed-mindedness towards what the actual facts are about our alleged bedrock of our tradition. So I'm putting out here that if you look at the historical evidence and textural analysis of our holy books, then we have to agree. Well, we don't have to, but I think it would be skillful and honest to admit that much of what Theravada believes is highly debatable, and it looks like it's based on false assumptions. Okay, this might be different. This, you might classify me as a heretic and an extremist, but anyway, I offer this video humbly and with respect. I offer it for your consideration. Okay, thank you. Bye.